Battle with King and CJ with King.
You want to go get a hot dog at halftime? Well, guess what? You can also take the under in the second half of 25. You know what I mean?
And CJ.
You can win Super Bowls right now with me and Grandpa Brady over here. Let's do it that way.
Presented by the fine students and faculty of the Oklahoma State University School of Media and Strategic Communications in beautiful Paul Miller Building. Broadcast live on KXCY OSU Student Radio. And now, live from Studio 318, it's Border Battle with Jordan the Great King and CJ the Viking Nash.
Welcome back into Studio 318. Thank you, Landon, bringing us in here again. End of another week. It seems like we've been doing this for a short period of time. We've actually been doing it quite a while now, Chris. January 26th, I think, was the first day. I was going through some past show notes, and I think that was the first day I found. So here we are, Friday, March 16th, not February. Friday, March 16th, the last one before spring break. We're going to be off next week. We'll see. I'm going to be in town with nothing to do, so maybe I think Reed's going to be here, one of our camera guys, for a few days, so maybe we'll record something. I don't really know. Chris is headed north to Minnesota. Safe travels after the show. You're done after the show. So if Chris is checked out early, we'll find out during the show. We're going to take you through some NCAA, NFL recaps, of course, ticker topics since it's a Friday, and then an orange update to send you into spring break. We'll get you caught up and set to go moving forward. You're watching on Suddenlink Channel 112, YouTube Live, Border Battle On Demand, OSU Student Radio, KXCY. Facebook.com/Border Battle Show is our Facebook page. Head over there. At Border Battle OSU on Twitter. Find all of our stuff linked on those two social media accounts. We're going to start with the NCAA tournament, as we should. Major upset, but not very much drama in day one. Normally you get the buzzer beaters. We only had one of those. Normally you get some upsets that are close games. The big upset of the day was an absolute drubbing of Arizona. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Chris, just your first initial reactions, maybe a game of the day for you from the first day of the NCAA tournament.
Man, game of the day. There's so many, and the thing is, I don't want to get too in depth on the ones, but because I know we'll talk about them here in a bit. The Houston San Diego State was a great game to watch. Gonzaga and then UNC Greensboro. Thank you. Loyola Chicago against Miami. There was three good games. Even the OU Rhode Island game was a fun one to watch. So overall, it was a good mixture of some really close games, and then you obviously have your typical blowouts as well.
We'll start with Oklahoma, since that is the state that we're in. The rival of Oklahoma State, obviously, Bedlam matchup. They lose to Rhode Island in overtime. They were up. They should have won this game. Let's call a spade a spade. They should have won this game in regulation. I think Trae Young was part of the reason that they lost, but also their big man, I forget his name now, shot a three. I think he's shot like 14 of them all year, and he takes a three down the stretch in the game. Look, I mean, some of these shots by Trae Young are shots that you've seen him shoot all year, but they didn't go in with enough frequency for Oklahoma, and that's why they ended up losing. Down the stretch here, did we see Oklahoma's youth? Is that what it was compared to Rhode Island that was able to obviously make the comeback?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Rhode Island now has set a record for 92 wins with their group of seniors. I mean, when you have that much experience, seniority, it like they're saying actually during this broadcast, it trumps your skill a little bit because of, like you said, OU is such freshman-based young talent, which they're a talented team. Don't get me wrong. Well, Trae Young is, but when you have all that experience, in the end, these close games, it showed.
Well, I think what's interesting is last night on a radio show in town that I produce, Last Call on Triple Play Sports Radio, our guest is an OU beat reporter for the Tulsa World, Cody Savenhagen. He was talking about the lack of teams that have really had success with a star freshman leading. You look at LSU, they didn't even get in the tournament with Ben Simmons. Markelle Fultz, he didn't get Washington anywhere near the NCAA tournament. They were an awful team. I think 2-11 in Pac-12 play, or some awful number like that, 2-14, something like that. And Trae Young, to get them into the tournament, you could argue whether they should have been a tournament team. They for sure should have been a playing game at the very most. And they're lucky that they lost this game because, like I said, you play Duke with Trae Young, Duke's going to shut you down on the perimeter, and you're going to get embarrassed by that Duke Blue Devil team. So I think Rhode Island's got a chance. You look at the veteran leadership you talk about, 92?
92, I think.
92 wins for that senior class. That's how you win. That's how you have success if you're a mid-major. That's what Rhode Island did. They've had success over the past couple of years. This is obviously a class that they're going to miss when they're gone. But you look at the flip side in Oklahoma, so guard-centric and so youth-centric. They only have one senior, Kadeem Latin, and quite frankly, is Kadeem Latin someone that's showstopper? No, he blocks shots. That's it. Block shots, and he's not even that great of a rebounder. So you look at some of the limitations of the teammates of Trae Young, and then you look at the limitations of Trae Young himself, and you understand why they lost this game and why they probably should not have been a 10 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Even watching the end of overtime, like you said, in regulation, Oklahoma should have won. But watching him in the end with Trae Young, they needed threes, and instead he was driving or he was kicking out to teammates. It's like, if you are the star player of your team, you got to take control. I get it, if you're double teamed, get some screens, get something moving.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just showed, like you said, their youth.
There's a fine balance in doing what you did against Oklahoma State, which is shooting 39 shots, far too many, and then not taking control enough. Now, he wasn't very efficient yesterday either, and I think finally on a national stage, this was the first game. For a while, this was the only game going on, so I hope people realized, hey, maybe this Oklahoma team shouldn't have gotten in the tournament like all the analysts are saying, like all the fans are saying, like Twitter is saying.
And I think the thing, too, with Trae Young, people, yes, he led the NCAA in scoring and assists, but he turned the ball over a lot as well.
Yeah.
Which showed, he kept pushing things. He wasn't always, letting the floor, letting the team do their thing. He was trying to speed the process. And I think he had like 7 turnovers against Rhode Island. In the NCAA tournament, one player has that, you're not going to go anywhere.
You look at assist to turnover ratio, and his wasn't good enough to warrant being one of the top players in the country. And yes, he led the country in assists and points, and that's never been done before. Congratulations to him. I don't know if he's going to go to the NBA. Obviously, he gave the stock answer of, I'm going to talk with my family right now. It's about Oklahoma, blah, 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 blah. That's all coach talk. That's nothing. Okay, that gives reporters nothing. That gives us nothing to talk about. It's stock stuff. It's still, we don't know what's going to go on. I think there's a better shot of him coming back now, but I will say this, it all kind of depends on what he hears from the scouts, because if Colin Sexton's now going to get drafted before you, is there really a reason to go pro? The flip side of that is you come back, are you going to be able to replicate this kind of season? And I would suggest probably not, considering the fact that the little film that was on you, people were able to use and end up turning around halfway through the season and making you a very average player. So, and that's not taking anything away from Trae Young. I think if he goes to the next level, he can be successful where people aren't solely game planning for him. Say he gets drafted in the late top 10 by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you're not game planning for Trae Young if you're going against Cavaliers. You're game planning for LeBron James and all of their other pieces before you're game planning for Trae Young. So I think Trae Young could maybe have some success there in a spot role.
See, part of me, in a sense, actually thinks he should stay another year. I get it. This is where you could hurt your draft stock.
Yes.
I understand that side of things, but the chance of trying to hone your skills a little bit, I guess in the pros you can do that as well. But it's one of those things. Maybe he needs to have one more year in college to really let the speed come to him, because I think that was part of the thing too. Is he was going so fast, and maybe it's his mind thing at an NBA level. I don't know, but with all these pushing the turnovers, because in NBA. Your team, your coach ain't gonna like you turn the ball over seven.
I don't know.
Consistently,
NBA is more acceptant of turning the ball over. I think that's fair to say.
In a sense, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, you look at the turnover numbers in the NBA compared to college. I don't know if there's any statistics on this, but it sure seems like there's more sloppy play in the NBA. I could be totally wrong. And maybe that's what I am. But we're going to skip over Loyola and Arizona. I think those are two games that were kind of made headlines. A lot of people liked Loyola simply for their defensive prowess. And then obviously they hit the shot to win it against Miami. And then Arizona, Alonzo Trier and Ayton are going pro. That's what they said. They're going to enter the draft. No shock there with all the allegations surrounding that program.
Let me ask you real quick, because I know we want to keep moving. I had someone ask me, Brian Troll actually texted me this last night. Do you feel, and I want to know what you think, do you feel Ayton's draft stock
I don't think it was
suffered?
affected.
Okay, that's what he had asked me with the drubbing that they took, if that affected his draft stock.
No, because I don't know. Maybe you get concerned about him checking out because I think all of Arizona's team checked out. But for me, if I'm watching that game, I'm more concerned if I'm the athletic director of Arizona. I don't know if I retain Sean Miller. I don't. With everything that's surrounding the program right now, and this isn't even with the wiretap and all that stuff, that isn't, everyone forgets that their assistant coach and top recruiter was part of the allegations that Oklahoma State was part of early in the year. So don't forget about that. Those were also part of it, and now you have these issues, and then your team just lays an egg, and that's probably being kind to say they laid an egg last night, because after it was about 10 points, Arizona was done. Ayton was done. Trier didn't care. That's just the way it was, and it was embarrassing. And I don't know if you want that representing your program.
Yeah.
So I don't. They're headed to the NBA. Good for them. I think they'll be great NBA players, especially Ayton. I think he is going to be a great NBA player. Kind of started to wreck my bracket. I'm not going to say this is something that angers me. I told you this off air this morning. One Final Four team on the first day does not bust your bracket. If they're the championship team, if you had them winning it all, maybe. But very rarely does it come down to the championship game. Unless you're in a pool of 400 people, then it's going to. Obviously, you have to have the champion to win that. Mm-hmm. But if you're in a group of 15, 5, 10 people, you can lose your champion and still be fine. So I think people stop pressing the panic button. Okay, if you're Oklahoma, you need to be pressing the panic button, because if Trae Young goes pro, you are in trouble. I want to talk about Houston because this is one of my favorite stories going into the tournament, and my guy, Rob Gray, balled out last night. 39 points. I said keep an eye on him. After I said that on Wednesday, there was an article on ESPN that I was reading, and it said, name of a guy that you don't know now that you're going to know at the end of the tournament. It's Rob Gray. You're going to see it. Rob Gray, 39 points, almost 50% shooting, 4 for 6 from three-point land. Here, you're going to see him. This guy is just so fluid. He's so good in the paint. I don't know if we're going to get to the end of this highlight to where he makes the game-winning shot, but him getting in the paint, he's so fluid. He is an NBA player. And I don't know where he fits on draft boards or anything like that, but the guy is incredible. He led his team. He willed his team. I don't know what the total points was for Houston. Let me see if I can find
67.
67. He had 39. Yeah. His teammates had 18 points for him, or 28 points for him.
Which makes you nervous though, because that, in a sense, Houston's only going to go as far as Gray goes.
Yeah, but that's gonna be a far way. Let me tell you that much. and I understand that John Beilein is a great coach, probably a future Hall of Fame coach for Michigan, and he's probably going to be able to game plan for him. But I like what Gray brings to the table. I think the rest of this Houston team's going to get going. I think it's going to. San Diego State is a good 11 seed, and they needed every minute to beat them. Rob Gray, man. That's what I'm talking about. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're recapping the NFL free agency, including the NFC North, which got substantially stronger in both of our opinions. We will be right back to discuss all of that, including another Richard Sherman story. He likes to keep himself in the headline. We'll be right back. You're listening to the KXZY on OSU Student Radio. Welcome back into Studio 318 here in the Paul Miller Journalism Building at Oklahoma State University. You're listening to the Border Battle with King and CJ on OSU Student Radio KXZY, Suddenlink Channel 112, YouTube Live Border Battle on demand, Facebook.com/Border Battle Show. Get to Kirk Cousins in a moment. Chris wants to say something, a quick PSA, I guess, about our bracket challenge.
Yeah, I just wanted to get to that being we kind of ran out in the first segment. If you are watching this and you want to know where your score is going to be, it will be updated. There's a score sheet on our website. It'll be under the March Madness tab where you went to upload your bracket. It's going to be there. It's alphabetical name. You can click on the score and the rank to see where you're at. And then with scoring, it'll be updated on Friday and Sunday for this week because I want to make sure we get through the whole round of 64 and then the round of 32, and then I'll update scores so I'm not doing score up to score up to score every single time.
Yeah.
So
we have lives outside of this show, so
yeah,
Chris
can't sit by a computer 24/7.
You can't sit by the computer from 1:00 p.m. to 1:00 a.m. every day updating the website. But we will get it updated for you. And the way we're scoring it is...
so the first round will be 1 point, and then it goes 2 points, 3, 4, 6, and 10.
Interesting.
So I was looking
Not very standard scoring, but yes.
No, it was a basic one. I found one that the championship game was worth like 32 points.
I love that.
And I was like, yeah. I was like, no, because I was like,
that's
if
why
someone,
they didn't consult
like,
me.
Yeah.
I like 1, 2, 4, 8, 16,
you like how they
32.
double up.
Yeah. Because now it's even less of a problem. Reed's our camera guy Reed, Big Chief is he's happy
Chuckling.
back there because he lost Arizona, but it's not going to cost him that many points. So see, again, don't have to be so concerned about losing Final Four teams.
Right, I was just gonna say that.
So it keeps it competitive, and et cetera, et cetera. We're going to get into the NFL free agency recap. Which team in the NFC North, our home division, Chris, got the most better? Which
better.
improved the most? Which got the most better? The betterest the most?
I would almost have to say the Packers. I think the Packers made the signings that they needed. Everyone knew the Vikings needed a quarterback. Okay, it was obvious that was the one thing we were missing. But you guys got Jimmy Graham. He's an underrated tight end to me. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves, and a lot of it can be because Gronk is so good, and so he flies. Jimmy
a lot
Graham,
of it could also be the average quarterback been throwing him the ball for the past 4
right,
years.
and his stats may balloon now with Aaron Rodgers, and then you go to a different quarterback maybe. And I don't know if their plan is to keep Jimmy Graham until he wants to retire or what, but. No, I give to the Packers. I think the Packers.
But why not the Vikings? Because you said the Vikings needed one hole to fill, and they filled it. So wouldn't that make them the most complete team in the NFC North?
But in a sense, I mean, yeah, does it fully complete us? Yes, but we are already a complete team. We are just missing the quarterback. Yes, the most important position.
The most important part, yeah.
But I feel like with the Packers, there's so many positional needs that they have that some of the signings that they've made so far have really helped try and complete their team as well.
Yeah, I will say this about the Vikings. We're going to learn a lot about Case Keenum now because he's not in a division with an old Eli Manning, a young Carson Wentz, and a young, I think, very limited quarterback in Dak Prescott. As far as arm talent goes, I think Dak Prescott is a limited quarterback. Does he have athleticism?
You mean Case Keenum?
Dak Prescott.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said something about Case Keenum, and I was like, wait, he's not in that division.
No, I said.
Sorry, I misunderstood you.
Did I say Case Keenum? I think I said Carson. Did I say Case Keenum? I think I meant Carson Wentz for the Philadelphia Eagles. If I said Case Keenum, I apologize. But we're going to learn a lot because now you're in a league with the best quarterback in the world right now, Aaron Rodgers, and in my opinion, a top 5 quarterback in Matthew Stafford, especially if you're talking arm talent and playing the position. Is he even the top 5 right now as far as accomplished quarterbacks in the league? Absolutely not. Probably barely in the top 10 in that scenario. But I think you're doing a disservice to Matthew Stafford if you're not calling him a top 5 talented quarterback in the league. And now we're going to find out because you got the Bears got a lot better. I will say that. They started to put some toys around Mitch Trubisky and Matt Nagy, and I think those two, that pair, if Trubisky's talented enough, could be a dangerous pair because I think Matt Nagy is a brilliant young offensive mind. And now you got Allen Robinson, you got Trey Burton from the Eagles coming in now, and then you sign Taylor Gabriel. So now you got some legitimate weapons. You're not going in with Marcus Wheaton as your best quarterback or wide receiver. So that's important as well. So now the pressure is going to be on for the first time, really, because out in Washington, Kirk Cousins could make the excuse, I don't want to be here. They aren't trying to surround me with talent. They're just franchise tagging me. Now you've got the first fully guaranteed contract in NFL history. That's like multiple years. And you're playing in the division with some of the best quarterbacks in the game right now. So you're going to be compared to Aaron Rodgers. And if you finish lower than Aaron Rodgers right now with the talent around you, no one will argue that Minnesota's got the more talented roster than the Green Bay Packers do. No one would argue that. And if you're not able to capitalize on that and win the division in these 3 years, you're going to be judged on that. And that's just fair or not, that's the way it's going to be.
Would you say it's fair to say now, especially with Kirk Cousins coming to the Vikings, that the NFC North is probably the toughest division?
No.
What?
No. I think you have to look at the division as a whole. Like, we used to think, I still think the NFC West has a lot of merit. I know the Seahawks look like they're starting to tank and the Cardinals stink, but you look at
the Niners.
The Niners on the uptick, although too early to call them a great team because we don't know about Jimmy Garoppolo other than a small sample size, although undefeated in his NFL career. And then the Rams, one of the best teams in the league. And then you go out to the East, and you got the teams out there. But look at the NFC South. They put 3 teams in the playoffs last year. Let's not forget about that. It's not like Cam Newton's just going to go away. And it's not like Drew Brees is just going to go away. By the way,
right.
Alvin Kamara in his second year of his career. Mark Ingram still there. They got plenty of talent surrounding him. And looking, by the way, to bolster that even more. We'll see if they're able to do that yet in free agency or if they have to do that in the draft. And then the Atlanta Falcons, who for everything that happened this offseason, losing Taylor Gabriel and everything that goes along with that, are still a quality organization. Now, I don't think those teams are like necessarily favorites in the NFC. I think that's still probably the Vikings, and then you have to say the Eagles because they won it and didn't lose anyone. But I don't know. I'm not willing to say that that's the best division in football yet.
Then at least can we both agree that we have the best conference? The NFC is by far the stronger conference as a whole.
Well,
it's unfair to say because of the Browns. Okay, taking out the Browns.
Well, no, but if you look 1 to 8, who's the better conference? It's the NFC.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can throw the Browns in there. I don't care. I mean, you look at the Browns and the Bears. What's really the difference, right? Because they both suck. Or
how the Chiefs may be.
Well, no, I'm not willing to say that because the Chiefs have made some moves that tell me Andy Reid says they can win now. You don't sign Sammy Watkins to rebuild for the future, and you don't pay him $16 million and overpay Sammy Watkins because, let's be honest, is Sammy Watkins what Sammy Watkins was supposed to be coming out?
No,
hasn't been. He was outplayed by Robert Woods and a 4th-round draft pick named Cooper Kupp for the Rams this year.
Yeah,
Cooper Kupp outplayed him. So you're giving him $16 million. All of these contracts, by the way, how good do the Packers look for locking up Davante Adams for $14.5 million a year? Watkins is getting 16. Allen Robinson coming off a torn ACL is getting like 13.5. I think if you're Davante Adams, you're like, man, I should have hit the open market. If you're the Packers, you're like, another brilliant contract that we did.
So let me ask you this, and I know we've kind of touched on this earlier, not on the show. Are you glad to see, are you okay with Jordy Nelson being released?
Yes. Name me an impactful play Jordy Nelson made last year.
Could you not blame that on his quarterback?
Yes, you can blame it on the quarterback.
Okay, well, I said, I'm more curious as you being a fan of the Packers, what you think.
Here's the thing. Look at every time Aaron Rodgers has gotten hurt throughout the course of his career. What did Jordy Nelson do?
Nothing.
So
you're saying Aaron Rodgers is what makes Jordy Nelson tick?
Absolutely. All the people, early in Aaron Rodgers' career, a lot of Aaron Rodgers detractors, Skip Bayless, would say that it was his talented receiving core that made him so good. Well, why then, if Cobb is having a bad game, why is Davante Adams? Was he able to step up? Why was Jeff Janis? Anyone know Jeff Janis? Anyone? Why was he able to catch back-to-back Hail Marys against the Cardinals in the playoffs to send it to overtime? What's Jared Abbrederis? Wisconsin wide receiver. When's the last time a Wisconsin wide receiver did anything in the NFL? Not named Chris Chambers.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, and Jared Abbrederis was successful the one year when Cobb and Jordy Nelson were out. You look at Aaron Rodgers, he's been able to do it with a whole heck of a lot of different receivers, and Jordy Nelson hasn't been able to do it with different quarterbacks. So I'm interested to see him go out to Oakland because Derek Carr underperformed last year, took a big step back in my opinion, and now you're getting a head coach that you're paying $10 million a year that has been sitting in a broadcast booth for the past half decade, more than that.
So I feel like I'm going to toss you up a dunk and you're going to block it in my face. But do you
are we
feel
going to talk about the QB competition in Minnesota already?
Oh, no.
Trevor Siemian?
Yeah, Trevor Siemian don't have a chance. Do you feel part of it, though, with Jordy Nelson is because of his ACL? Do you feel he has changed?
Yeah, he
like,
has.
Is that, like, that's a big hindrance, you could say?
He had to change because now he doesn't have the burning over-the-top speed that he once had. And also, here's something to consider. If you go back and watch some Jordy Nelson highlights, a lot of the things you'll see in the red zone were not his innate talent necessarily. It was when Rodgers gets out of the pocket and does the scramble drill, as they call it. There was no receiver in the league, no receiver quarterback combo in the league that was better at finding each other than was Jordy Nelson and Aaron Rodgers. That part of that's Rodgers throwing him into open spaces. Part of that's Nelson's knowledge of what Rodgers likes to do. So is he going to have that of Derek Carr? No, he's not. So if we're looking at red zone targets, which I think is what Jordy Nelson is resigned to at this point in his career, Jimmy Graham is a better red zone target. So I think the Packers did get better with that move, if that was the overall kind of overarching question.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get you caught up on what we got caught up on, the biggest headlines. And trust me, there were some big ones since we talked NCAA tournaments all week, including Tiger Woods, 71 feet. Book it. You'll be right back. You're listening to the Border Battle on KXCY.
Hi, I'm Gina Noble, and I'm the mayor of Stillwater, Oklahoma. Stillwater, Oklahoma is anything but still. We are a vibrant community, and we are conveniently located near Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Wichita, Kansas. We're the home of the Oklahoma State Cowboys, and we serve as the cultural, economic, and athletic hub for North Central Oklahoma. In fact, several Quality of Life magazines have recognized Stillwater as one of the nation's 100 top places to live and one of the best places to golf. Established in the land run in 1889, Stillwater is a safe, vibrant community. It boasts a great educational system from K through 12, all the way up to our world-class university, Oklahoma State University. We have an exceptional downtown with a strong entrepreneurial spirit, numerous city parks and trails, and our medical resources are second to none. Stillwater is a wonderful place to begin your career, to start a business, to raise a family, or to retire. We invite you to visit Stillwater because we are anything but still.
Think you're not involved in your community? Think again. Spending your money with local businesses is more than an economic choice. It's a way you can have a say in the look and feel of your hometown. This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
Welcome back into Studio 318 here in the Paul Miller Journalism Building. You're listening to the Border Battle with King and CJ on OSU Student Radio, KXZY, Suddenlink Channel 112, YouTube Live, Border Battle On Demand, or Facebook.com/Border Battle Show. The Arnold Palmer Invitational presented by MasterCard is going on right now down in Orlando, Florida. As we see Big Chief doing some putting strokes off camera. Maybe that's what his plans are over spring break. I'll tell you what, maybe I should have my parents bring down my golf clubs and get a few holes in next weekend.
I would say Big Chief likes to go golfing. He actually lives by a golf course, he said, because he said, he's like, if you guys got clubs, man, we could go golfing.
I'll tell you what, I always wanted to live by a golf course because of the free golf balls. I'm sure you get a ton of them. Because people are like, can I really trespass onto their lawn to go get my Titleist Pro V1? Well, if it's Titleist Pro V1, maybe you go and get it. If it's a Bridgestone, maybe you leave it, because who cares about Bridgestones anyways?
Plus, you can just go hit the greens. You can just go walk on and, do little chip shots.
I mean, that's technically trespassing as well, but...
No, I'm not saying, like, if you live on the golf course, you can go onto the golf course, do a couple chip shots.
That's what I mean. It's still kind of trespassing if you aren't paying for the greens fees.
Hey, you know what?
We aren't advocating this. I'm not advocating this. I'm gonna separate myself from that situation right now. But the guys on Border Battle told me I should do this. No.
yeah, don't do that. All right,
well,
back to Tiger.
Ticker topics. Anyways, down in Orlando, Florida, Henrik Stenson 3 under today. He's through 16. He's 11 under. Our guy Ricky Fowler 1 under through 15. Kind of an average round for Ricky so far today. He is 5 strokes off the lead overall in the tournament. Tiger hasn't even teed off yet, and he is 7 back. He went 4 under yesterday. You pair that with the weekend that he had last weekend at the Valspar Championships. Is Tiger Woods back?
I don't know if I'm ready to say he's fully back. I think he's rounding back into form. Yes. Is he back? No. I it's still too early. It's great to see, that he's come back. He's hit like right. I don't know if it wasn't that one, but
no,
he hit
that was
like
not the 71 footer.
Yeah, the 71 footer. I mean, that is Tiger. That is Tiger at his best. That is vintage Tiger.
Tiger Woods making big shots is vintage Tiger. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's getting there, but I'm not comfortable saying he's back.
So I want to pull up something that I saw yesterday. Tiger Woods. So this is, mind you, this is because of last weekend and what he's done in one day in this Arnold Palmer Invitational. He is, I want to get the thing right. By golf odds, he is the favorite to win the Masters. He is the betting favorite to win the Masters at 8-1. Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas 9-1. Spieth 12-1. Jason Day 14-1. Look a little further down the list. 18-1 is Ricky Fowler, our Oklahoma State alumnus. So Tiger is back according to the bettors. He's 8-1 favorites to win the Masters. Would you be comfortable? Again, we're not advocating putting money down. Would you be comfortable putting money down on Tiger?
I would, with the way Vegas is projecting it, just because most of the time, like, Vegas can be wrong, but usually they're not off by a lot, it seems like, from the past stuff I've kind of seen a little bit. I think would I put a lot down? Probably not. Like, I wouldn't be putting down millions. Right. A small bet, yeah, I would do it just because, it kind of, reminisce, brings back the good old days.
Yeah. We can make these picks later on if when the Masters gets closer. Tiger or the field right now, if you're just picking.
I almost have to go with the field.
I think I would too.
Just because I haven't seen enough of Tiger to really be comfortable. Like, oh, Tiger is back. He's got this. No, it's vintage Tiger's back.
I will say this though. You look at last week at the Valspar. Patrick Reed is one of the most clutch players down the stretch that we talk about in golf today. Patrick Reed. And it's interesting because he's been such a good player in clutch moments for the U.S. national team in Ryder Cups and stuff like that. We saw him choke for one of, I'm not going to say the first time, but Patrick Reed does not choke very often. He choked at the Valspar. You know who was coming up the fairway behind him? Tiger Woods. Has Jordan Spieth, has Ricky Fowler, has Patrick Reed, now Patrick Reed has Henrik Stenson. Have these guys had Tiger Woods, Sunday Tiger Woods, coming up the fairway behind them when they're trying to seal out a championship?
You're right.
No, they haven't. And I just wonder, there is nothing, they talk to golfers all the time. They say you can try to prepare for it. But having the Tiger chasing you is different.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, just so I'm up to par with this, pun intended. We have derailed. Was Tiger vying for the lead as well at that point?
Yes, he was.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would totally agree with that. When you know, like, oh man, this isn't the old Tiger, the current Tiger that's been injury plagued. Like, this is the old Tiger that's right on my heels. And if I don't do this, like you said, I forget who you said the golfer was, that Patrick Reed. To see him miss 2 or 3 putts in a row, I think he double bogeyed on that hole. Or did he bogey?
He bogeyed, I believe, on that hole. What he needed to do, he had this interesting putt. He decided to putt it, and he left it short, and it rolled back down the hill. All you had to do is put it up, get it close, knock in your par putt, and you go to a playoff with Paul Casey. Now, Tiger didn't win last week. He didn't win. But you look at him, and he can make you play differently down the stretch. He can. I think he can affect you. And it's interesting because Paul Casey, he's old enough that I think he probably has played, and Henrik Stenson maybe as well has played with him. I know Rory has to a certain extent, but have they seen prime Tiger Woods? I'm not really sure. And plus, it hasn't happened in a while. So that's all interesting. I don't know if Tiger's necessarily back, but I will say this. He doesn't have to get all the way back to win a major championship, because people around him, his presence when he's chasing you on Sunday is enough to make people fold. So I think that's interesting.
And I think he's also probably the only golfer to have that effect. Like now, current.
For now,
current.
Probably.
Current. At the moment, I don't see anyone else that really scares me the way Tiger would.
No. Back when Jordan Spieth won the back-to-back when he won the Masters and the U.S. Open, I think he had that effect a little bit on Dustin Johnson, but that was also coupled with Dustin Johnson's normal kind of problems with collapsing in big situations. So maybe Jordan Spieth did a little bit, but not to the extent that Tiger does. No.
Yeah.
No, we haven't seen that for
years.
20 years now. So that I think is interesting. I want to move on, keep it moving here. Aaron Judge made some comments. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. He said that Manny Machado would look good in pinstripes. Do you have a problem with him saying this? And did the MLB take the right steps to try to prevent it?
And I may be on my own island for saying this, but I don't really have a problem with it. Like, if he's just saying, yeah, they're hanging out there, like, it'd be like if we were on separate teams and one of us was trying to get the other to come, play for, like, hey, come on, man, let's join up on a team. Let's go here. Let's do this together. Let's try and win something together. Like, not to say they're best buds, but I don't really see anything wrong with it. I get what the MLB is doing with trying to kind of put their foot down and say, hey, we don't allow this tampering. You can't do this. I get it. And I applaud, I guess, the steps they're doing, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as they are.
I'm not sure it's a huge deal, but it's a slippery slope to all of a sudden, is Aaron, because obviously GMs can't do this. So are you sending, if you're going to allow this, are you going to send your players to say, oh, look
pitch
at this.
For you.
By the way, we can pay you this much. So I do think it's a slippery slope, so I'm okay with the MLB trying to step in. Move on, Golden State Warriors without Steph Curry, 1-2. I believe Steph is set to come back pretty quick here, although he doesn't have to. Don't rush him back, I think, should be the message to the Warriors. But is it a little concerning that they play Portland and Minnesota, I believe 2 teams currently in the Western Conference playoffs, and they can't beat them without Steph Curry?
I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe those were back-to-backs as well. Maybe not because they were both on the road. I don't know if it was like you went here and then to the next one. That I don't know off the top of my head, unfortunately. But Portland's been just playing phenomenal. Portland's actually had, I think, the Warriors' number most of the season. Like, Damian Lillard he loves to play against the Warriors, which, I mean, who wouldn't when you go up against this big Goliath, and try and take him out. And I'd say it's more concerning that you lose to the Timberwolves. I'm obviously from Minnesota. I'm a big T-Wolves fan, but we are a different team without Jimmy Butler. We really are. I will admit that fully. But granted, at the same time, Karl Anthony Towns has just been on another planet right now. He's doing what Anthony Davis has been doing for the Pelicans. He's just taking the reins. He said, all right, I'll take us to the promised land, or try and get us there to keep us afloat until Butler's back. But it shows, and I think you made this comment a couple days ago about Curry is more important to the Warriors than Kevin Durant.
Absolutely.
And I watching this, I totally agree. When Durant went out last year, the Warriors still were good. Like, they're still a great team, but it shows you what Steph Curry can do and how important he is, his role to the team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You look last year, there was a drop off, but not a significant drop off without Kevin Durant. Steph Curry's the best player on the team, and he's the most important player on the team. And I don't really think you can make much of an argument. The Warriors won a championship without Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has not won a championship without Steph Curry. Look, Steph is more important. He just is. I don't know why it's okay for Kevin Durant to be one of the greatest scorers in the history of the NBA and not be a bona fide superstar. Like, is he a superstar? Yes. Is he one of the top 5 players in the game as far as importance to your team? I don't know if he is, and part of that is him going to Golden State. If he was still in Oklahoma City, his importance to his team would be a lot higher than it is out in Golden State. So that's my argument against Kevin Durant.
No, and I agree. In a sense, it would, but it just makes it more of, you're a superstar, but yet you can't leave. You can't take over, which is like, it's this weird, battle, because even like now with Curry gone, who does take control? If Kevin Durant really doesn't, Clay's off and on, what do Warriors just floating around right now?
Yeah, I got about a minute left. I want to talk about Joe Thomas because he was a Wisconsin guy, graduated from Wisconsin, and kind of one of the, I don't want to say one of the first, but one of the most impactful alumnus of Wisconsin that has ever gone to the NFL. And you look at this guy, an Iron Man, 10,363 consecutive snap. He protected 20 different QBs. This organization, a mess. And this guy was the cornerstone. And what did he do? He went out. He never made a playoff. Never got to play in the playoffs. 10 Pro Bowl appearances. Only player to do that in 11 attempts. And this guy is incredible. He never once complained about going to work. He was injured and decided he wanted to play for that crappy organization.
Loyalty.
So props to Joe Thomas, and wish him all the best in his retirement. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, an Orange update for you, talking all spring sports, couple winter sports wrapping up. You're listening to the Border Battle on KXCY.
What is arts and sciences?
We aren't all about the arts.
We like to think of ourselves as explorers.
From exploring the human mind
to discerning the building blocks of the universe.
We don't just read books.
We don't just sit in the classroom.
And we don't just solve problems.
We seek to give everyone a voice.
In a variety of approaches.
We tackle the big issues.
By understanding complex social structures.
And even understand the small ones.
We take passions to new heights.
But stay grounded.
We tell stories.
Of the past. Of the present.
And work to predict the future.
We like to think with a little preparation. Some dirt under the fingernails.
And some self-analysis. You can do anything.
With nearly 100 degree plans to choose from.
Where will your arts and science degree take you?
Connect, achieve, succeed.
To our neighbors and friends, we come to you today to let you know what's on our hearts. Because you're the reason what we do is so much more meaningful than a job. The reason we believe in the power of investing in tomorrow and the power of community. So this is simply thank you. As we step boldly into a time of growth and change, consider this our promise that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities.
This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
Welcome back into Studio 318 here in the Paul Miller Journalism Building. You're listening to the Border Battle with King and CJ on OSU Student Radio, KXCY, Southern Link Channel 112, YouTube Live, Border Battle On Demand, Facebook.com/Border Battle Show. We will get to the 12-game winning streak team, Cowgirl softball team, at some point in this segment. We're going to start off with the Oklahoma State Pro Day. Just a few words about this. I mean, we weren't there, so whatever. Everyone's probably seen it already on Twitter anyways. So that's what happens. We're beat to the punch for all this news, Chris. So Chris Lacey, obviously, probably the most impressive. Some reporters, and I would assume some scouts, if reporters did, had him in the low 4.3s as far as his 40 went. Even if he was up in the low 4.4s, that's where Chris Lacey needs to be. Put together a good on-field workout. James Washington put together a good on-field workout. Mason Rudolph only had one ball hit the ground, and that was a drop from James Washington. James Washington also increases vertical up to 39 inches. That would have been top 5 for receivers at the combine. Any comments on any of that, or is that all just kind of, I mean, like, Mason Rudolph and James Washington, they're supposed to have good days at the pro day. That's what pro days are meant for. You're supposed to look good for these scouts. Everything's scripted. It's intended to show off your strengths. So,
yeah, no, like you said, it's just regular day at the office for Rudolph. I'd say Washington, even Aitman, in a sense. I think Lacey had the biggest to gain here,
right,
or to prove,
yep,
in that sense of, like you said, with his 40 speed and everything else. Like, he needed to have a good pro day here to help his draft stock, in a sense, and to hear, you know, that with his 40, like, that's good. Like, it's a good sign. It, like you said, it's what he needs. So if anything, Lacey is the one that needed to have the biggest day, and I think he's slowly performed.
Yeah, because I think Lacey, if there's one that's not going to get drafted, it's going to be him. One of these that could get drafted, there were a bunch of guys there yesterday that don't have a chance of getting drafted, just trying to showcase for undrafted free agency. But look, Lacey could get drafted, and I think it was important for him to perform well yesterday. OSU women, they play against Syracuse tomorrow in Mississippi in Starkville to potentially set up a matchup with Mississippi State, again, who they played in Starkville earlier, and lost by 3. So a good performance against a 1 seed there. They could potentially play them again. President Obama picked them to beat Syracuse. Do you agree with him?
I think it all depends on Braxton Miller.
Yeah,
to me,
I haven't heard much about it.
We have talked, you know, so much about this as well. When she's healthy and on a roll, the Cowgirls are a tough team to beat. When, you know, with her injury, which she went down with against West Virginia, yeah, the team just wasn't the same. And I know she came back and played, but it was still, it wasn't the same. And so if she's not hitting shots from deep, you know, booking it, so to speak, from deep, the Cowgirls are going to struggle. Kaylee Jensen can only do so much. You know, even Lauren Goodwin for that matter. And, you know, they need the third musketeer, so to speak, to help them.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about Braxton Miller, but of course they need her to perform well. I mean, if they're going to have any chance to win in the second round, I don't think if you're not going to win in the second round, if Braxton Miller's not there, you could lose to Syracuse. And by the way, Syracuse, a fine program, you know, but I think OSU should be expected to win that game. It's just a matter of, do they go out and perform the way that they should? So I think that'll be interesting. Wrestling, let me pull up here. I just had up Ocali beat reporter Jeremy Kolak's Twitter, had some updates from Cleveland as far as the wrestling. His latest one 16 minutes ago, Piccanini, Brock, Heil, and Llewellyn can still earn All-American honors and finish as high as third, but they've been eliminated from national title contention. So they all lost today. Llewellyn defeated Tech Fall 20-2. He lost. Dean Heil lost 6-5. He's a 2-time national champion. Kind of like Luke Garza said, keeps every match close, but he's not going to win them all. He lost that one 6-5. Any comments on those other than just kind of what we kind of expected? This team was not expected to compete for a national title.
Yeah, and if anything, to me, what's more disheartening in a sense is the fact that, like, Dean Heil's ride, don't get me wrong, phenomenal wrestler, but in a sense, it's kind of a sad last ride for him because, you know, he wasn't the Dean Heil that we all know. Like, don't get me wrong, he had tough competition in his weight class, but, you know, it just wasn't the same Dean Heil that we saw last year, the year before that. It's, you know, in a sense, you feel bad for him. Like, he was successful. Don't get me wrong, he's had a great career. But in the retrospective, you'd just hoped if he'd lost in the finals, or, you know, just, I don't know. I just felt like an underperformance in a sense.
Hard to like really feel bad for a guy that's a 2-time national champion, but maybe disappointment, I think, is a fair word to use. I want to talk about softball here. 12-game winning streak, as we said, ties like their best winning streak, I believe, of all time. And then a couple awards that Shippey has either been nominated for or named to. National Player of the Week, that's her second different National Player of the Week honor. Now, there's like several different national players of the week from different news organizations, but still to get one is pretty good. And then obviously the senior class award, that was the same one that Kaylee Jensen was up for basketball. That's essentially just meaning, you're staying in college and you're a good student athlete, stuff like that, and appreciation for seniors that stick around and play 4 years in college. Overall, how impressive is this stretch for the softball team? And obviously Shippey's a big part of that.
This is super impressive, especially when the first few weeks, first few tournaments that they went to, the team just seemed to struggle. They weren't consistent. They'd have some breakout games, and then it's like they couldn't muster up any runs. But at the same time, Shippey is the MVP. Let's face it, she's the best player on this team. But at the same time, I think she's almost underrated a little bit with some of her other skill sets, like, off the mound, so to speak, off the diamond, if you want to say it, when they're in the locker rooms or whatever, she's at senior leadership. They've got other talented individuals, but Shippey is the heart and soul, everything of this team. And I maybe this is wrong to say, but I feel the Cowgirls will go as far as Shippey can take them.
Yeah, to a certain extent, because like it's different than basketball, right? Because a basketball player is more impactful, I think, than a softball or baseball player. And that's not to take anything away from her. She's a fantastic player. I think she'll be right there as far as the national conversation goes, as far as National Player of the Year. That kind of conversation goes throughout the year. I think she'll be right there at the end. But I do think they need some, they obviously needed to have pieces around her click because she's played well all season. But you look out in California, they lost 4 of 5, I think, and only beat a very mediocre Wisconsin team by a run. So you look at that was not a good tournament. And then I believe it was since then they've rattled off 12 straight wins or something around that. 12 straight wins. Now, they haven't left the state of Oklahoma in that time. They've all been either at the Oklahoma State home field or down in Oklahoma City. But still, you get rolling, you get some confidence going with Big 12 play looming. Now, the other direction of that is the 3-game losing streak that the baseball team is on. Any concern for them, or is this maybe what we expected, just kind of a good team that's maybe not great?
It's a little concerning, but again, then I'm going against my point of reminding people it's still early. But yes, you still have to take in a little bit of concern. You lose 2-3 to Eastern Michigan. Granted, I don't know a lot about Eastern Michigan if they're that phenomenal of a team. But you've lost 3 straight, and I get it. You got, we've had weather issues and whatnot. But at the same time, you're a college athlete. You're expected to come in, day out, and do your job. And yeah, so what?
The NCAA doesn't like you calling that a job, Chris.
I know. I get it.
No, you're right.
But
you're right.
Like
it's a job, but they just aren't getting paid
unpaid,
for it.
Unpaid job, so to speak, as a college athlete. But you could say yes, they're. I don't know. Maybe they're just a good team. They're not great. They're there, but and maybe it's too early to count them out. The season's long, but I don't know.
It is too early to count them out, but it's not a very good stretch right now, and it's not a very good look either. I do want to talk about this here real quick. Today or yesterday, one of the two, Oklahoma State soccer announced their fall schedule. Start off with Missouri again, a friendly match or whatever they call them, exhibition match. And then they go to Tulsa to open it up, and then Oklahoma and Florida come to Stillwater. Like, if you're a soccer fan, even if you're not, you need to understand that this team is a really, really good team. This team is a team that went to the tournament and should have aspirations to go further than the second round of the tournament this year. Oklahoma comes to Stillwater on August 19th, and then the 26th, a nationally recognized program, Florida, comes in, and then you go to Illinois, you go to Loyola Chicago. These are big teams. Cal comes. We talked about Cal last year. San Francisco, those two teams Oklahoma State had to go to, and they lost to last year. And this year they get them back at home. And then I just want to go through the rest of the schedule. At K-State, at Kansas, Texas at home. That's a marquee soccer program. OU on the road. Texas Tech at home. Baylor on the road. West Virginia, Iowa State, TCU, all on the road, all to end the season. There's potential to get some momentum heading into the Big 12 championships and also win another Big 12 title for this team.
Yeah, I will say a real funny thing also is like I love these OU things of like OU is like an exhibition game, like it's bedlam, but again because
like
we've talked about this,
the
and
soccer team isn't backing down from Oklahoma. They didn't take their ball and go home, wrestling coach.
Yeah, right. We're looking at you, coach. But yeah, that's I don't know. I had to laugh because I saw that note. It brought back our conversations.
That's right.
About all of that as well. I will also say I do have a quick announcement to make. I know it's a little off the cuff, but we actually have a video come up here shortly. We have a birthday here today in our audio booth. Our very own Alexis Winston. It's her birthday, so shout out to her 22nd birthday. Just want to give a quick shout out, from King and CJ. Just had to throw it out there. I'm sure she's just loving this.
Okay, first of all, Alexis, do not yell at me because Chris gets to leave and go straight back to Minnesota. I didn't know about this. I'm washing my hands on this one. You get to leave and go back to. You get to leave here for the next 10 days.
Yeah.
I have to go to class after this. Look, man, I'm washing my hands on it. That's all I'm saying. I'll let you take that one away.
Yeah, no, I will. I was all a part of that. I wanted to do it. Ever since they Landon got me during the franchise show, I was looking to get someone back, and it worked when she told me her birthday was on a Friday. I was like, yes. We'll say too.
Happy birthday to her, by the way.
Let's talk real quick about our 40 times. Being we have just a minute here, and how they did against Orlando Brown.
5-2-0. I beat him. I beat him also in the long jump. Or the broad jump. Now, I don't know if you beat Orlando Brown in the broad jump. Yours was
I did
closer.
not. I think I missed by just a bit. I had a 5-3 in the 40, so I also beat Orlando Brown.
Real quick, I want to ask you, Chris, are you going to be watching #Behind Baker, the new Baker Mayfield docu-series that he came out with? He got a team to film him about his path to the draft. Are you going to be watching that?
Yes. Just kidding.
Here we are with the orange wrap-up segment, and Chris is going to be watching Baker Mayfield Behind Baker. Thank you so much for joining us this week, folks. Have a great weekend. Have a great spring break. We won't be around next week. We appreciate everything you listening to us so far. Rejuvenate, recharge, and come back with some vengeance in the second part of the semester. For the great crew around here, for CJ, I'm King. Thank you for listening to The Border Battle on OSU Student Radio KXCY.